watch it.
How did it get this bad?
Every dollar in your pocket is a promise, not yours, someone else's. Right now, somewhere, a bank is owed that dollar. A government bond depends on it. A mortgage, a car loan, a credit card balance. All of it traces back to the same uncomfortable fact. Money isn't wealth. It's a receipt for debt. And here's the part that should keep you up at night. If every dollar is someone's debt and the world owes more dollars than exists, who actually pays it back? Stay with me, because the answer is stranger than you think. Let's set the stage. As of early 2026, global debt sits north of $330 trillion. Household debt, corporate debt, government debt, all stacked together. That number is larger than the entire world's yearly economic output, combined, more than 3 times over. Meanwhile, the total amount of physical and digital money in circulation, all the cash, all the bank deposits, everything you could call money, is a fraction of that. Estimates put global money supply somewhere around $130 trillion. Read that again. We owe more money than exists. That sounds like a typo. It isn't. It's the entire foundation of how modern economies work, and once you understand why, you'll never look at a bank statement the same way again. So why does this matter right now, in 2026, more than any other year? Because interest rates went up, stayed up, and debt got expensive to hold. Governments are refinancing trillions of old debt at new, higher interest costs. Households are carrying record credit card balances, and corporations that borrowed cheap money in 2020 and 2021 are now rolling that debt over at double or triple the rate. The math that used to quietly work in the background is now loud. Interest payments alone on U.S. federal debt now cost more per year than the entire defense budget. Let that sit. The cost of owing money has become one of the largest line items in the most powerful economy on Earth. So the question isn't academic anymore. It's urgent. If debt is this large and growing faster than the economy that's supposed to repay it, what happens next? To answer that, we need to go back to basics, not textbook basics, real basics. Here's how money actually gets created. It's not printed by a government mint, mostly. It's created by banks, the moment someone takes out a loan. You walk into a bank, borrow $10,000. The bank doesn't pull that from a vault of cash sitting somewhere. It types a number into your account. That number is new money. It didn't exist 5 minutes ago. But here's the twist. When that loan was created, so was a debt. Your $10,000 in the bank equals $10,000 you now owe plus interest. So the same transaction that creates money also creates a debt larger than the money itself because of interest. This is the part almost nobody explains clearly. The system creates the principal. It does not create the interest. The interest has to come from somewhere else, some other loan, some other transaction, some other dollar being created in a different corner of the economy. Multiply this across billions of loans, decades of borrowing, entire governments issuing bonds, and you get exactly what we described. A global system where the total debt always outpaces the total money supply. It's not a conspiracy. It's not a flaw someone forgot to fix. It's baked into the architecture. Debt-based money, by design, always owes more than it creates. Which brings us to the uncomfortable math. If total debt is always larger than total money, then mathematically, not everyone can pay their debt back. Not because people are irresponsible, because the money required to fully settle all debts literally does not exist yet. Someone, somewhere, must always be borrowing more just to keep enough money circulating for others to repay what they owe. Economists have a quiet term for this. They call it rolling over debt. Most people call it something else, a treadmill. Governments don't pay off debt in the way a person pays off a credit card. They issue new bonds to pay old bondholders. The U.S. government, for example, doesn't need to save up to repay its debt. It refinances it again and again, forever, as long as lenders trust it will keep doing so. That trust is the entire system. Not gold, not oil, not even GDP, trust. And that's where the irony creeps in. The safest asset in the world, U.S. government debt, is safe specifically because everyone assumes it will never actually be paid off in full. It just gets renewed forever, like a subscription nobody remembers signing up for. Which leads to the part where hype and reality split. The hype says debt is dangerous, a ticking bomb, a countdown to collapse. Financial influencers love this. Fear performs well on camera. The reality is messier and less cinematic. Debt has been unsustainable, according to headlines, for over 40 years, and it keeps being sustained. Not because the math changed, because the system evolved new tools to manage it. Central banks can buy government debt directly, effectively creating money to absorb it. This is not theoretical. It happened at scale in 2020 when central banks purchased trillions in bonds to keep economies from freezing during the pandemic. That's not fixing the debt, that's moving it quietly from one part of the system to another, usually onto currency itself through inflation. This is the twist most people miss. Debt doesn't have to be repaid in real terms. It can be repaid in devalued terms. If a country owes $10 trillion and lets its currency lose half its purchasing power over a decade, that debt becomes, in real terms, much easier to carry. It's not canceled, it's diluted, like adding water to soup and calling it still soup. This is where things escalate. If debt can only be managed by rolling it over or diluting it, then the entire system depends on perpetual growth, new borrowers, new spending, new income to support new debt. But growth isn't infinite. Populations age, productivity slows. Some economies are already seeing this collide head-on. More retirees drawing on systems, fewer young workers borrowing and spending to keep the treadmill moving. Japan has lived this reality for over 30 years, debt exceeding 250% of its economic output, and yet no collapse, no dramatic implosion, just a long, slow stretch of stagnant growth, low interest rates, and a currency doing a lot of quiet, invisible work in the background. Is that a warning, or is that a blueprint? Economists still argue about which. Now zoom out further, because this isn't just about governments. Households are stretched too. Credit card debt in the U.S. crossed $1.1 trillion in 2025. Auto loan delinquencies are climbing. Student debt sits